What did you think of the three girls singing? It was okay, yeah. It was kind of a long wait, though, wasn't it, before the Vice President got there? Golly, they could have passed out some Pepsi to us or something, couldn't they? But they didn't do that either. Well, Jeremy, thanks for making some comments this morning, and all you young people have a very nice day today. Thank you. There's a fourth grade class, and this is a great group of kids. I can see by the smiles on their faces they're ready to go this morning. They had a great day yesterday, being able to experience a time and moment where they spent some time with the Vice President. And we're going to talk to a young man back here. His name is Matt Scott, and see just exactly what he thought about the whole affair. Matt, what did you think about yesterday?
I liked the Vice President.
You thought that was a pretty neat experience. What did you talk to your mom and dad about the experience yet last night?
Yep.
What'd you tell them? Don't remember. Just slept on that one, huh? What'd you think about all the security they had there?
I liked those guys on that road.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys. There was one other guy that nobody saw. He was inside the building too. There were three of them actually there all together, and it's quite a day. What'd you think of the size of Governor Thompson? Pretty small guy, isn't he? Yeah, 6'6". He kind of dwarfed everybody. Did you enjoy the gals singing?
Well,
A little, yeah.
I like country.
Yeah, you don't like country music, right. You have to kind of like country music to like that group. But it was sure a neat experience, and thanks for giving us your comments this morning. Boyd's office, this man was I talked about yesterday, walking with his crutches and the knee surgery he had. Mr. Boyd, as the principal here at Jefferson Park, what are your comments about yesterday?
Well, I think it was a really fine opportunity for all of our children to go up and see the Vice President of the United States. As for the teachers and everyone involved in the public, that kind of an opportunity just doesn't come very often. Our children were the best behaved I've ever seen them, and they were a credit to our school and our community and to their parents. So I think it was just a super day for everybody. Thanks,
Mr. Boyd, and you guys have a great day, and hopefully that knee's going to get a lot better here real quick.
Well, I'm sure it will.
Thank you
Very much, Gary.
We're here in this is applied math class. We have a group of juniors and seniors here over at the high school, and we're going to talk to a couple of people. Susan Montgomery was... Jenny, would you like to make some comments about yourself on the tape? Oh, okay. We're going to talk to Susan Montgomery. She was a senior student who went up to Minonk yesterday. Susan, what was your impressions of Vice President Bush's assembly at Minonk? What did you think about all the security? A lot of security, right. Was Governor Thompson with him at Minonk?
Yeah.
Small man, right? Yeah, no. 6'6", I believe he is. Right. Did you talk to your mom last night about your impressions?
Did I talk to my mom?
Yeah, about the whole deal?
Yeah, well, she got to see him.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks, Susan. We're going to shift over to Tim Hawes, and Tim was up at El Paso. Tim, what was your impression of yesterday's visit from Vice President Bush?
I thought he covered himself, and I think he would make a good president.
Does that mean we won't vote for the president?
That's right.
What?
Yep.
Tim, had you ever been in a place where security is as tight as what it was? No. Right. Well, thanks a lot, Tim, for your comments, and hopefully one of these days you might be in political office yourself. The geometry class here, this is a group of sophomores and juniors taking geometry. We got a real small class. This is only a class of 7 students, and we're going to talk to Lane Crucius here. Lane is a sophomore here at El Paso High School. She was up and saw George Bush yesterday. Lane, there went Stacy rolling by there from the pencil sharpener. Lane, what was your impression of the visit of George Bush to El Paso?
Oh, I don't know. I was pretty excited about the deal.
Okay. What did you think about all the security involved with the visit?
I like watching them.
You could spot them pretty easily, although there were a lot of plainclothes people there. From the vantage point that I had, you realized that a lot of guys were running around there with khakis and some blue jeans and so on. Had you ever seen anybody that important before? No. What about Governor Thompson? Have you ever seen him before?
Yeah.
He's a pretty good sized boy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about impressions from your parents?
Well, my parents weren't there. They don't say anything much about politics. Yeah.
Okay. So it was just kind of a neat experience for you.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Algebra 1 here, a group of 9th and 10th graders. And this is right after lunch. We're going to talk to Jennifer Wolf here. Jennifer, what was your impression of yesterday's visit with Vice President Bush?
I think it was okay. I thought it was stupid, though, that we had to wait an hour and a half to come and talk for 10 minutes.
Yeah. That was all part of, security, for security reasons.
Yeah.
What about the impression of just security? What'd you think about that?
Very thorough.
Right. What did you talk to your parents about it after?
Yeah.
That seemed to be something that they were excited that you were able to see Vice President.
Yeah.
What do you think that might be as a life impression? That do you think it would change your life any because you saw the Vice President?
Not really.
Not really. What did you think of the entertainers that they had? That impressed you any at all?
They were good.
If you didn't like country music, you might not have, and gospel music, you might not have fit into that group. Had you ever seen the Governor Thompson before?
Not in person.
Not in person. He's a pretty good-sized man, for sure. Right. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer, and hope you have success on your test today. High school office, and Mrs. Hocker has been here as secretary of the school for a number of semesters, and we're just going to get her reaction to the Vice President Bush yesterday. Mrs. Hocker, what was your net reaction?
I was thrilled that I was able to go, and I was standing close to the front, and I had chills, really. I was excited.
Had you ever been that close to a VIP before?
Not that close, but I had been to Eureka to see the President of the United States in 84, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a thrill.
That was a thrill, too. What'd you think of all the security? Impressed or?
I was impressed, yes.
Impressed. They kind of do things different, don't they?
There was even
Okay.
more security and more newspaper people than I expected. Or, I don't know if they were newspapers, but
I'm not sure that people realize there were 8 buses in that contingent of people arriving, and that was just kind of mind-boggling to think that 8 buses were going to arrive here in El Paso with all the news people involved. Did you get to talk to your husband about the affair last night?
yes, and he was sorry that he couldn't be in El Paso to watch it.
Right.
He was in Bloomington, he missed it all. But my grandson, he was impressed, and he's in first grade, and he was impressed with Crystal Gayle and her long hair.
Long hair.
He
Right.
mentioned that to me.
Right. And talking with some of the kids today, some of them were excited to see a professional person, but they really weren't into country music
I see.
or something that sounded like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Hocker, for being part of our tape.
Thank you for stopping by.
Centennial Junior High School, where Mr. Don Jerica is principal, and Mr. Jerica is going to give us his thoughts on yesterday's vice presidential trip here to El Paso.
I thought it was a unique idea to have all our kids there. I thought it was a tremendous opportunity, a chance of a lifetime opportunity to actually become a part of history by touching a part of history. how many times in one's life do they get a chance to actually shake hands with, touch, see in real life someone who may be one of the most powerful men in the world? And you'll be able to read about this in history books and say, I actually met him in person. And I think for no other reason, that's why it was an extremely interesting and worthwhile experience.
Great, great. Did you get to share the experience with your wife last night?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
My wife thought it was really great. She was angry because she didn't realize that Crystal Gayle and Loretta Lynn would be here.
Right.
But she wanted to see George Bush as well. And so I think for that same reason, you're part of history when you do those kinds of things.
Great, great. What did you think of all the security?
Well, when I was working at Bradley's television station, radio station, as a college student, I got to interview a number of people just as you're doing in the crowd at the Nixon and Humphrey and George Wallace campaigns, and I thought it compared, similarly to those.
Right. Of course, being a vice president, you're going to get more security people around than just the average candidate. I'm sure that Mr. Dukakis has quite a few people, but not quite as few as or the number of wise that the vice president would cover, for sure. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jerica, for sharing those thoughts with us, and hope that all your kids here at the junior high can really get some neat experience out of the experience they had here yesterday with Vice Presidential Mr. Bush, and certainly as a presidential candidate. I know that a lot of kids were just very excited to have such a man as in his power structure to visit here in El Paso. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard.
The high school, and Mr. Thomas Wagner is the principal here at the high school, and we're going to get his views yesterday on what he experienced up at Minunk. He had a group of seniors, about 40 of them up there, to the vice presidential campaign that was arriving at Minunk. I believe they had that indoors. A little bit different experience than what we had here at El Paso, but Mr. Wagner would give his thoughts and just how he thought maybe kids were receiving that whole thing there in Minunk.
We took about 38 seniors up to Minunk yesterday, and it was indoors in the gymnasium, and we had very good viewing area of Vice President Bush. We were up high enough that we could see him. I was really impressed with the hoopla that went on before he got there. I mean, shirts were thrown out to the crowd, and hats, and banners and flags, and it was really kind of a building point until Vice President Bush got there. I was also amazed with the amount of security that we saw there. I counted about 18 to 20 security around him as he entered the auditorium. He spoke briefly and was to the point and then left, and we got to go outside and see security outside too, and I think the kids were really impressed with the security.
Were you able to share the experience last night with your wife?
She was sad that she couldn't be there. She almost took a personal leave from work so she could go, but she decided not to.
Great. Had you ever been in attendance where a vice president or a president had been in that area and been able to see him before?
Never had seen a candidate, vice president, or a presidential candidate in close enough, in person.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Wagner, for sharing those experiences. I know that each of the seniors that were able to go there had a little bit different, unique experience than being right here in downtown El Paso, because probably a little closer and being indoors. I know that that should have been a great opportunity that all those kids will probably just really relish all the rest of their life. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Superintendent's office, Mr. James Miller is superintendent, as you know, of our district, number 375 here in El Paso. And he had a big responsibility of coordinating a lot of things here for the vice president to visit with the people here in El Paso yesterday. And we're just going to get his comments regarding the district-wide parts that came about with being able to experience what we had here. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Well, first of all, it was a big experience. It took a number of days of planning, and I was thankful to have the principals available and offer their comments and suggestions and to help get everything organized. it was hopefully a big learning experience for all of our kids. It was a learning experience for us getting it all organized. It's one of those things that probably for many of us, perhaps is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. We would hope that there might be other opportunities along the way for perhaps some of our kids, but it was a big day for us. It took a lot of energy on lots of people's part. It took a lot of patience once we got there to wait for the Vice President. But I think it was all well worth everybody's extra effort to get the kids up there and to see the Vice President and what he had to say, and just to get an opportunity to see what kind of an operation it was. That in and of itself was an educational experience. Hope it proved helpful and beneficial to everybody.
Did you have any feedback from people within the community regarding, say, conduct of the kids or anything of that nature?
No, nothing specific. I guess just the reaction from some of the staff and the principals felt as though the kids acted and behaved extremely well. Again, given the consideration that we had to wait for almost an hour and a half for them to get there from the time that we were told, and those are all the kinds of things you have to deal with and that sort of thing. But overall, I think we were very, very pleased with how our kids behaved and how they reacted when he was there.
Yeah, I thought from my vantage point on the truck there, being able to kind of look over the whole situation, I did not see any incidents ever occur that really were out of order. People just were very well mannered, and it I think gave our school district kind of a big number one there as far as how young people realize that they do have a responsibility and are able to act in a very, very adult way when required to. And I just thought it was a tremendous opportunity for the district to be part of such an occasion. Hopefully the staff people will use this probably in terms of being able to write some themes of how kids felt about it, and I would think that would just be really something very, very neat to come out of it. Did
again,
you?
I would say, I would echo those sentiments again, Mr. Ballard, because I think it's a real plus for our school, it's a real plus for our community, and I would hope that all of these kinds of things would build up to the November election, and if nothing else, would encourage the kids to go home and talk to their parents about going out to vote. And that's probably, if it extends beyond the school, we get more people out to vote than ever, would probably be the biggest thrill, I guess, of this type of visit.
It was really kind of neat today in sharing with some of the younger people in our district and talking to them, sometimes as the tape was being made, sometimes as it wasn't, just really already the kinds of thought processes they were thinking of as what impressed them about what he did say. I thought that was really something that, of course, I was able to pick up on that from talking with kids all the way from K through 12, and but I thought it was just really a great opportunity, and hopefully the district will just realize the real benefit of being able to experience that whole day.
Special thanks to you for taking the time to do all this.
Well, it was no problem.
A memorable occasion that we will have on tape now forever.
Right.
So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
You bet.